Hey guys, let's see if I can not cut my head off in this video. Welcome back. Today is definitely going to be a Grandma Goodish video. So welcome to the Grandma Goodish space. Grandma, Grandma finished up a hexagon block with a cute little Disney princess center. And I'm going to send it to my 16-year-old granddaughter who lives a distance away. I don't get to see her as often as I'd like. I have two younger granddaughters that live here that I can see quite frequently, but she's also 16. She's older than them, and so she is still a Disney princess. So I made her the block so that I can attach it to a sweatshirt, a pullover sweatshirt. Love the idea of it. I saw the videos and it looks fairly straightforward. I think I should be okay. So I'll be sending that off to her soon. And then I can make one, actually I could make some for the girls here, but I'm always making little things for them here. But then my two grandsons, I'm going to use, behind me you can see there's a Hot Wheels. The quilt top that I have there with the Hot Wheels on it, that was a video from the American Patchwork and Quilting magazine a few publications back. And it came in florals and it was so super pretty. But when I saw it, and I saw the lines of the fabric, the pieces, I remember just thinking that would be perfect for anything that had like a 1950s diner fabric would be really cute with that, like with records and roller skate wheels and stuff like that, or anything to do with like records and rock and roll, or number three, cars and trucks with wheels. And I happen to have the Hot Wheels 10-inch layer cake that to this day I'm still finding pieces of those layer cakes. And every so often I pull it out and use it because the colors are great. Now in this particular quilt top, the tidbit I can pass on to you is when you are mixing your primary pieces that are making whatever the shape is that the gist of your pattern is trying to suggest. So in this case, it's kind of a rounded off circular shape. If you use pieces inside the shape that are kind of busy and medium to medium large motif on it, even if you use a completely different contrasting color like red and bright blue up against it, you're going to lose some of that contrast if your motif is the same size. And I did do that here on this blanket. And I feel like the squares that I had a really clear distinction between the pieces that were the main motif of the circle and then the small slices that surrounded it. When I used an opposing color in an opposing motif size, that really worked well. And I really found that I really liked using the solid black on it too, to really pop that circular up for your eye to catch. The gray was to give your eye a place to rest, and I felt like the gray kind of matched like the asphalt suggestion of cars and racetracks and stuff. So that's how I came to that decision. And also, ultimately, the real situation for me is what I use is based on what I have, because I try my best to go through this stash that will last into infinity and beyond. So if I just focus on using what I have, I'll work through it. And so I want to just enjoy what I have and use it up. And so that's going to be my tidbit for the day. If you want your pattern design to really stand out, not always, but in many cases, you're going to want to make sure that not only are the colors contrasting, but the size of the motif, or even in presence of a motif or not. So plain as compared to like a floral or a stripe or a plaid or whatever is going to make a difference and in how it looks to you in the end. So there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is as I was sewing the hexies together, I realized that I made a little boo-boo. And so the little boo-boo that I made has to do with the video where I laid out my hexes and was trying to decide how big to cut that secondary piece that was going to fill in and bridge that empty space on the edges of the hexes all around the block. And if you see that and you figure it out, leave your response comments. Those of you that have been sewing for a while, you might get it. Probably, you probably will get it, really. But this is one of those things that's just a matter of you got to have some experience. You know, you got to go through, put the work in, do the sewing, realize you made a mistake, and that's never going to end. I mean, you know, all these years I've been doing this, and once in a while I still make a mistake. But it just makes the day interesting and just shows you where you can improve and where to focus some attention on. That's all. And then I did take a nice walk out. I mean, it's still February and there isn't much to see or do outdoors here in Maryland. I did take a little walk around. I felt like I had a little bit of a Wes Anderson spirit going on with my camera. I don't know. I think it was just things caught my eye. Here in a place like New Zealand or, you know, the desert in Arizona or whatever, you might find this stuff interesting. That's my little tidbit for the day. And I want to say, I know things are really stressful right now with everything going on in the world, but you can control you and what you do today. And that's about it. So keep smiling. You can do this. Here's a little closer look at that Hot Wheels quilt top I was talking about. You can kind of see where it does make a difference where you use differing pattern sizes on your fabric and how it affects how it looks together. And actually that little stuff underneath it is a different quilt top, but figured it was a little better view. And yeah, I would definitely be sure that in the future, these right here, I would have used more of a solid blue there, because you can see in the one underneath how much better the shape stands out to your eye. This one is not terrible, but eh. And then the one above it, you can really, again, you can see where it's a good stark contrast to allow you to see the difference, where the pattern begins and ends, and lets your eye match the shape together easier. So your brain doesn't have to work so hard to see it. This is the quilt top that I made for the most recent, so it would be 2025 Jelly Roll Day. And it was easy and cute, and I followed along with a tutorial on the Quilted Forest website, and it was enjoyable. The only problem that I ran into was that at some point I rotated this block and started sewing the logs on the wrong way. So half of the quilt is put together wrong. And so I had to put it away for a while and give myself time to think about whether or not I was going to get out my seam ripper and effectively rip 50% of the quilt apart and sew it back together again the right way. Or am I going to leave the top as it is, since quote unquote nobody will know except me, unfortunately. And yeah, I hate to admit it, but it's going to really irritate me to know I left it this way. That is going to be a future project, and I think this will be a spring project because these are such pretty spring colors. So in a few weeks, I will start the process of doing that. Okay, right in front of us is this is what's called the smoking gazebo.